From the rugged beaches of the Northern Highlands, where rocky cliffs meet turbulent seas, to the sandy shores of the Hebrides, home to dunes and machair teeming with wildlife, Scotland is renowned for its natural beauty. However, each year, around 1,500 tonnes of plastic pollution enter our Scottish seas, posing a severe threat to the rich biodiversity thriving in these waters. Seabirds, marine mammals, fish and invertebrates all inhabit these unique and diverse marine ecosystems and now face increasing challenges. I'm Shian Denovan, and since I was a kid, I've always been drawn to nature and enjoyed spending time in Scotland's coastal areas. Over recent years, the public, myself included, have become more aware of the impact that humans are having on the environment and the issues surrounding ocean plastic. However, I have to confess, at times I have found myself overwhelmed by the scale of the problem and feeling at a loss about what can actually be done. It can seem easier just to turn a blind eye. But I know that these issues aren't going to be resolved without serious action, and the idea of Scotland's beautiful coastline and its precious wildlife being impacted beyond repair is heartbreaking to me. So I think it's important that I face up to the truth and go on this journey to educate myself about the realities of the situation, and even more importantly, to meet the inspiring people who are working to solve these problems and showing us that there is hope. So, over the next 6 months, we'll be embarking on a journey along Scotland's picturesque yet vulnerable coastline, exploring the tireless efforts of local charities, dedicated individuals and beach cleaning organisations working to reverse the alarming state of Scotland's shores. Through community engagement, educational programmes and cutting-edge research, these organisations are forging a path towards a cleaner, healthier future for Scotland's marine and coastal environments. Through their eyes, we'll see the challenges and triumphs of this ongoing environmental battle, gaining a deeper understanding of the urgent need to protect our coast, and uncovering the stories of resilience, determination and hope that are shaping our shores. We're beginning our journey just outside of Edinburgh, where we've been invited to meet Katie Adjei, one of the driving forces behind the Scottish Coastal Cleanup. As the flagship project for the charity Balanced Horizon, it's helping bring communities together in a nationwide effort to remove plastic from our beaches and waters. Hi, Shian.
Hey.
Katie, nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Please come in. Thank you.
So the charity was set up just over a year ago now, primarily with two focuses, tree planting and beach cleans. And the Scottish Coastal Cleanup is the beach cleaning side of the charity, with the focus to do as it says, go around the coast of Scotland and help try and clear as much marine plastic as we can. We're very lucky and we've been able to get a boat through funding that we then can go to more remote beaches or hard to reach ones and collect and remove that marine rubbish that ends up there.
Great. And you said it's only been started about a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's quite new then.
Yeah. And in that time to date, we've removed 36.5 tonnes of marine plastic.
Wow. Just in 1 year.
Yeah. Which is really great.
Yeah, you guys must be so proud.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you get involved in it yourself?
So I started off as a volunteer and went away on a couple of the beach cleans last year and actually joined in on the 24-hour non-stop beach clean.
Wow, that must have been exhausting.
Yes, it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
And then, an opportunity came up to join the charity and jumped at the chance.
And how do you see things like moving forward? You've done so much in a year already, and what are the kind of plans for the future?
Yeah, again, just to sort of try and remove more, double or triple that amount, really trying to connect these communities together. I think a lot of people don't realise like the scale of the issue. And even when you sort of are walking along the beach and you're looking, you might see a few bits. But then if you actually get down and start picking up, you actually realise how large of a problem that we've got. I would say 95% of it is fishing industry. So a lot of rope. You get some bigger hard plastic and things like that. And you do get, obviously, some litter like drink bottles and crisp packets and things, but that's such a small amount compared to the fishing industry. I think the main thing at the minute is to try and get awareness about the issue, try and get more people to understand the scale of it as well. One's up in Skye that we went to. I think Skye quite often is shown as being this absolutely beautiful, stunning island, which it definitely is, but also has some areas that are pretty bad for marine plastic. And there was this particular beach that we turned up at, and it was just nothing like we've ever seen before, which was the same one we went back and did a 24-hour non-stop beach clean on, which was very exhausting. Yeah. But we were able to remove, in the 24 hours, 4 tonnes worth of marine rubbish, and collectively 6 tonnes from there altogether. I think the big picture for us would be that we are able to help part of the movement to clear all the sort of historical rubbish on the beach, and then for there to be some policies in place that restrict the fishing industry and other industries being able to allow that litter to sort of build up, and then just to encourage locals in their area to go along, and if you're out on a walk along the beach, out on a day with your family, just to pick up a handful of things along the way. And we're doing a map that will mark around the coastline of Scotland where there are local groups that can beach clean. And then we hold a event in June called the Big Beach Clean, where we try and connect everybody with the idea that by 2025 we'll have the whole coastline being picked at the same time.
Speaking with Katie has been truly insightful. In just a short time, Balanced Horizon's Scottish Coastal Cleanup Project has gone from strength to strength. Hearing about their plans to expand, connect more communities and map out cleanup efforts across Scotland is inspiring. Katie has kindly invited me to join their next beach clean in the Summer Isles in a few weeks' time. But first, I'm heading to the coastal town of Musselburgh to meet a remarkable individual who's tackling plastic pollution before it even reaches the sea.
Hi.
Adrian, hi.
Hi, Shian.
Hey,
nice
lovely
to see
to meet you. Hiya.
Oh, lovely. You're here to see some of my junk, and then we're going to go and visit some places.
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
I'm going to take you to first my greenhouse, where I've kept back some bags over the year, which you could have a brief look at and hopefully sort. We'll sort one in front, give an idea, and then we'll go and see my shed of weird goodies.
Okay, great.
As you can see, I've kept back some bags. Some of them are from the seashore, mainly at Musselburgh is the one that I've mainly picked from at the mouth of the Esk. Unusual things you get done, things you expect, like I think I've recycled about 4,000 golf balls from the 5 golf clubs feeding the burns around here. And you get a large polystyrene, very typical. You can see that unpleasant, and well, it's one of those insulatory fills. We've got the usual bottles. Anything clean enough gets recycled, along with the aluminium cans. This is classically what you find on a beach is the remains like that, because the structure of it, you sometimes just end up with a little bit of a bottom like that. These are stored, and I've quite frequently picked them up, and they've got prices on them which tell you how old they are. They can be 30, 40 years old.
Wow.
But you also get modern things. People just chuck stuff in burns, come out in the sea. Tools, toys, falcons, the big tires and so on were sent back. This here, probably the large majority of the ropes and nylon, which of course is all plastic. I even found that's actually a hawking glove.
Okay, wow.
I just had to, because it's a hawking glove, I just had to hang on to it. And this is the haunting center of weird stuff.
Wow.
It's not all purely Alabama, but I've tried to arrange it so that you can see variously what's going on. You know, the big questions, what do we do with plastic? Do we burn it? Do we put it in landfill? And you just really don't know. But to me, it's removing it from the marine environment. And so it's not going into cetaceans or fish or anything else.
The sheer scale of what Adrian has collected over the years is a powerful reminder of how much litter finds its way into our waterways. But beyond the quantity is the stories these objects hold, some dating back decades, that reveal just how long discarded materials can persist in the environment. Now he's taking me to Figgettburn to show me exactly where much of this pollution accumulates.
I've done this particular stretch, I have no idea, maybe 40, 50, 60 to 60 times, I would think, in the last few years. And I started because I saw the unbelievable amount of plastic bags. That's where it started. And then you realise what else there is. And so there's a typical piece of plastic. Clothing, I've got so much clothing out of this burn, jackets and so on. There's a wee bit of a more, still usable, another bit of golf. Tea actually is broken, so that bin. So I'm going to use this just to sugar this free. And I can. I try not to make too much disturbance at this time of year, because this is when nesting is going on and so on. That we're going to be successful with this. So, right. So you can see how that changes the bed. So
Yeah.
I can only just see a small bit of that to begin with, and then you need to gently ease it because it may be caught on something, and then it'll break off, and then you have to go back in, and sometimes you can spend 10 minutes getting one bag out because you're not quite sure what it is. A lot of farming stuff, construction stuff, things which I think are hopefully better managed nowadays, but in the old days they tend to just chuck them in. There you are. That's a typical takeout. And the most important thing in many ways, what I call the old plastic and storage, you'll see that where it's exposed to sunlight and to movement, becomes ragged. So that's producing small microplastics floating down into the marine environment.
So how come you got into this kind of beach cleaning stuff?
Well, look, there's a typical piece. About 20 plus years ago, I was on a business trip to the Isle of Man. I was waiting for the ferry, went for a walk on the beach, beautiful chuff hanging around, and then suddenly I saw all this plastic, and it's almost like a trigger to do something about it. And then it became a bit of a compulsion, and then I was angry, disturbed, and then I think later on, when I stopped full-time work, I'm semi-retired now, I'm a professional tourist guide as well, and it gives me the winter in particular to come and monitor these shorelines, and the rest is history, I suppose. And then you become a bit OCD and obsessive. So look, there you are. I can't walk past that without doing something about it.
Of course. How long have you been doing it for?
Well, just full-time hobby. I would think about 10 years now, maybe.
Yeah.
Particularly active in the last 5 or 6. This is where, just below here, if there's been a flood out, I timed it for fun because there were so many. I picked 106 balls in 20 minutes, golf balls.
Wow.
So you get used to the habit of it.
Yeah.
And then other people are cleaning it. There's great volunteer days, which are held here. So I mean, that line across there was horrendous. 7 or 8 years ago. I'm horrendous. It just looks appalling. And so I think we're having some effect.
Yeah.
But, I know it's tiny. I know it's tiny because I know what's coming up all the time.
Yeah.
Give it a couple of tides,
Yeah.
and there's always something. There's always a bag. I can always fill a bag with something.
Dunno.
And the dogs like to walk as well.
Yes. Spending time with Adrian has given me a whole new perspective on the journey plastic takes before it even reaches the sea. His dedication to clearing these waterways is not just about removing these pollutants, it's about preventing them from breaking down into harmful microplastics that threaten marine life. Adrian's work highlights the often unseen impact of pollution before it even reaches the sea. But microplastics come in many forms, and not all of them start as larger pieces breaking down over time. In North Berwick, we'll be meeting with Phaedra to learn about nurdles, tiny plastic pellets that are making their way into the environment before they've even been used. These barely visible pollutants pose a growing challenge, and I'm eager to understand their impact and what's being done to prevent them. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Shian.
I'm Danny, Phaedra, and welcome to North Berwick.
Thank you, and thank you so much for meeting with me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Can you tell me a little bit about Phaedra? What is their kind of mission? What is it they do?
So at Phaedra, we focus on really niche projects that we believe we can make an impact on. So we work on trying to influence environmental policy by working on plastic and chemical pollution projects predominantly, with the forefront of our minds of how to make support sustainable ecosystems and just sustainable living. Back in 2012, our founder, along with some of her friends, were on beaches just like this, walking along, and they started noticing lots of marine litter. And one of the things they noticed were these small pellets, coined the name nurdles.
Nurdles.
And these pellets are the size of lentils. And they were like, someone needs to just think about this. We need to understand, firstly, where they're coming from, the scale of this pollution problem, and whether or not there's something that we can do. So they mobilized volunteers and they started to map the pollution problem. And they realized it was actually far larger than the Firth of Forth area. And in 2013, they started Phaedra as an environmental charity to begin tackling some of these types of marine plastics.
And the nurdles, as you call them, what are they exactly? Where do they come from?
Yeah, so nurdles, they're not similar to other marine plastic you might find that's been littered by a consumer, or it's escaped into the environment via animals interacting with the plastic. It's actually pre-production plastic. So this is virgin plastic that's come directly from a petrochemical industry when they've made them. And these are plastics that, if you think about a plastic bottle or anything that you own that's plastic, it probably started as a tiny little pellet or fragments of flakes that are also used. So everything that you'll own is likely to have been a pellet at some point. One of our projects, the Great Global Nurdle Hunt, that has been our flagship project, and it started with the start of Phaedra in 2013, and it's been running for over 11 years. So I can't imagine at any point us not fighting in that corner and advocating for the prevention of plastic pellets being released into the environment, because plastic pellets are completely preventable from entering the environment. If the appropriate legislated sort of supply chain approach was adopted across the world, we'd then be in a position where 95% of pollution could be prevented. The companies that are creating these pellets or transporting these pellets or converting these pellets, depending on where they are in the supply chain, there's no obligation for them to then let us know that if there's a cargo ship coming through here, that 3 of those containers were full of pellets. They don't have to, because unlike if you think about something like oil, plastic pellets are not seen as a pollutant.
Wow.
So therefore, they don't need to be carefully contained within a container. They don't have to be sealed off. They could literally just sit in the bottom of a massive shipping container if they wanted to. They don't, but they could, because there's no regulation in place. And then when they spill into the environment, and often it's, there's reasons for this, though many are accidental, then they don't have to tell anyone, because they aren't aware that the container that's dropped off the ship is actually full of pellets because there's nowhere that marks them as harmful or hazardous.
And what can people do if people want to get involved or do something to make a difference in this arena? What would you recommend for them?
Yeah, so first of all, if you're an individual, I'd say go out and nurdle hunt, because all that evidence makes a huge difference. And it builds on our database, and it means that other organisations that might be in your area you don't know can go out and use our data, because they can download our data from our website and they can create their own maps with their own messaging, because we're trying to make sure everything is as like immersive and useful as possible for organisations. So as an individual, I'd say go do that, go nurdle hunt. It's once you find one nurdle, unfortunately you end up finding a lot more. And then I'd say if you are in a position where you can go and speak to your local community or local organisations, tell them that you want to do nurdle hunts and set up events. And then I think the other thing I'd say, if you were politically or advocacy minded and you are a strong advocate yourself, speak to your local MP, write them a letter, let them know that you want this brought up. Often nurdles are brought up by local communities, speaking to their MPs to get them to talk about it at this like higher level and a national level. So I think there's a lot you can do as an individual as well as an organisation. Lots of organisations are involved in the World Plastics Treaty like we are. Others are involved in trying to get changes at the IMO level, which is shipping internationally, whilst other organisations will be solely focused on regulations like what's come into place in France. They've got some really strict pellet regulations there. Like all these regulations could be improved, but it's such a start, because once it starts to be regulated, you're more likely to be in a position where you can make a difference and prevent these being spilled into the environment.
Learning about nurdles has been an unsettling insight into an often overlooked issue. Unlike discarded plastic packaging or fishing gear, these tiny pellets spill unnoticed from the supply chain, escaping into the environment in vast quantities. The scale of the issue is staggering. But Fidra's work proved that raising awareness and pushing for policy change can hold industries accountable and drive meaningful solutions. Several weeks have passed since my earlier conversation with Katie, and I'm now back on the road heading through Scotland's diverse and dramatic landscapes to join the Scottish Coastal Clean-up for their latest beach clean in the Summer Isles. From rolling countryside and historic towns to untamed coastlines that stretch beyond the horizon, every mile is a reminder that no corner of Scotland is untouched by the effects of plastic pollution. Despite their remoteness, the Summer Isles, a small archipelago known for its rugged beauty and rich marine life, are no exception. I'm looking forward to reconnecting with Katie, meeting the wider team, and seeing firsthand how they're helping transform these shores into a cleaner, healthier environment.
Katie, hi Shian. Great to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So we're up in the Summer Isles. Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Yeah, with a lovely group of some local volunteers. We've got a few beaches that we're going to hit up today.
Amazing.
And fancy getting your hands?
Yeah, definitely.
There you go.
Perfect.
Some gloves.
Thank you.
And we'll head down. Just careful as you step, because it's quite uneven.
Yeah. Oh, look, get started right here.
Oh,
there we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, nice to see you again.
Yeah, you
Thank
too.
you for coming up.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
And we've just teamed up with Tanera, which is one of the big islands. We've got the engagement officer here with us today, showing us some of the local beaches that are just the worst in the area. And this one, I think when we even turned up here, you sort of look across and you think, oh, it doesn't look too bad. But as soon as you start lifting some of the rocks, like, boom. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the same. When I first got here, I couldn't really see anything. But as soon as you get in there, there's just so much of it in all of these gaps. And I think these rocks are piled so deeply as well. It makes you think that how much plastic is going all the way down.
Yeah, dropping down. And
exactly.
I think, yeah. And then it's just getting stuck, and there's no way for it to come out, because even if the tide was to come up this high, it's not going to be able to lift it up and take it back out.
Yeah.
And then it's all the wildlife around as well that are just getting totally covered in all of this stuff.
Do you get many incidents of you know, animals getting injured or things like that with the plastic?
Yeah, we come across quite a few dead birds that are normally entangled. We were in a beach last year up in Skye, and when we turned up at the beach, there was a herd of cows on there munching away at rope. So it was all rope like this.
Yeah.
And the beach was just completely entangled and covered in it.
Yeah.
And there was a herd, and there was calves, and they were just munching away.
Gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and this, I mean, you can see here
Yeah.
how quickly that's breaking down.
Yeah.
And so then that's all just flying off. And
Completely, like, yeah, I've had that. Even like these ropes, we're picking them up, but yeah, some of them you touch them and they just disintegrate into tiny fragments. There's no way to collect them. Yeah.
yes, you can't pick up.
Then obviously there's been so much in the news about these microplastics, and then obviously get into the food system, and then we're eating them and how that's bad for our health.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah.
And I think that was it with that herd of cows as well. Like, you just assume that it's microplastics are in the ocean, so you're just thinking it's through fish. But actually it could be through, but there's sheep around this area, cows, there's birds that are going to be picking it up.
Yeah.
And also they're picking these up now as well and using it for nesting.
Okay.
So that's another additional, so it's maybe here it would be next to something that is natural,
Yeah.
and then they're going to see that and they're just going to drop it off somewhere else, and then more of a problem.
So yeah, it's really just getting everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. So with the bags that we filled today, do we want to put them in here to reuse the bags, or?
So today, the ones that we filled up, we're going to just put over there at the minute, because we're going to be weighing all of them to see how much we've collected.
Okay.
Some of this stuff was here before we came from the previous.
Yeah.
To pick it up. So yeah, we're going to weigh those first, and then we'll put them back in, because it's going to be taken out from. Just stand here at the shore.
Okay.
It's going to come in.
Okay.
Pick it all up and take it away from us.
Amazing. Do you know where the boat takes it? Like, what happens with it in the end?
We're going to take it down to Old Dorney, sort it. I think some of it's being used for something, a project or something, and the rest will go in the skip land.
Among the volunteers taking part in today's cleanup is Tommy Dale, one of our producers and managing director of Caledonian Horticulture. Growing up in Seacliff, East Lothian, Tommy developed a deep appreciation for Scotland's coastline and has been committed to tackling marine pollution for many years. Today, he's here to lend a hand and share his insights into the challenges we face.
You find a lot of burned plastic on the shore that's been burnt on boats, on tankers, and so forth, and shoveled overside. But we've heard a lot of people say that in the past there would be beach cleans and they would just burn it all, and that's evidence that that's been burnt in situ there.
And why do the people in the tankers burn it?
Well, they shouldn't do now, but for a long time it was just standard practice. You'd burn it. You got to remember that until relatively recently it was perfectly acceptable to chuck stuff in the sea. I think all of New York's waste was, till some point maybe in the 60s, was taken out by barge and dropped in the sea. It's only the last decade or two that really people say, well, hang on a minute, I can't carry on doing this.
After spending time in the Summer Isles, seeing firsthand the effort and commitment behind these cleanups, I've been left with a renewed appreciation for the scale of the work being done to protect our fragile ecosystem. Now I'm setting my sights on the coastal communities of Argyll and Bute, where I'll first be meeting Jackie Willis from the Grab Trust in the small village of Arrochar. Here, at the head of Loch Long, marine debris accumulates at an alarming rate, causing what's known as a litter sink. Jackie's working to better understand the scale of this issue and the impact it's having on the environment.
Hiya! Hi, Gan, nice to meet you.
Hey, lovely to meet you, Jackie.
Yes, from the Grab Trust. So
Amazing.
welcome to Arrochar. You are here to come and see the litter sink.
I am, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so Should we go down onto the beach?
Let's do it.
Take a look.
Gosh, it's pretty bad.
Yes. It's, to be fair, I've seen it a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the moment we've got a lot of the grass is grown up and you can't see because it does come all the way up and all the way along, which is harder to see once the summer growth comes in.
Yeah. And there's so much, I know with a lot of beaches we've seen there's so much of the kind of fishing industry waste. I'm sure that's here as well, but I can see so much just regular human waste as well. So many sweet packets and bottles, there's just everything.
Yeah. there's huge, vast quantities of the tilly ropes, all the fine bits, all that sort of fishing related litter. A few bigger bits, but really it's the majority seems to be the kind of cellophane, the broken down packaging, crisp packets, sweetie wrappers. That's a huge part of what's here.
Yeah.
And so basically it's not recyclable.
Yeah.
We can't do anything with this litter.
Yeah.
And it's so heavily mingled with the seaweed that the only option currently, or so far to date, has been to landfill it, which is prohibitively expensive.
And how long have you been involved with Grab and involved in these sorts of projects?
So I started in August of 2022. And at that point, like I said, nothing was happening here. The funding had come to an end. And so it was really just a case of getting the Marine Conservation Society studies restarted, just to try and keep the data going, just to give us that baseline of data. And make people aware. And so we're kind of working with other community groups and trying to raise awareness. I mean, a big part of also what we're trying to do is we've applied for funding, we haven't heard yet, but to try and take part in an educational programme working with Keep Scotland Beautiful. So fingers crossed for that, because that would be a big competition across Greater Clyde and Glasgow area, covering quite a big geographical area, educating our young people about making sure that they look after the environment. Littering is a really bad thing, because this is where it's ending up. So
this is where it ends up. Yeah. It is. It's crazy. So much of it, like I was saying, you look down, it looks like it's sand or something, but
when you actually,
just all little bits of plastic.
It is. It's tiny pieces.
Yeah.
Impossible to count and impossible to separate from the seaweed, because it can't be separated. And that was part of what they looked at. Part of the government funding previously looked at ways to try and separate the plastic from the natural materials, and they basically realised that it wasn't possible at scale.
Okay.
And so when you come down here with diggers, they remove everything, and it's the weight of all that material. So between 200 and 250 tons of materials removed each time that it was carried out.
And how long does it take from it getting removed and taken to this landfill to it being back like this again?
According to the locals, a matter of weeks, which is why it's so disheartening for them. I struggled to actually find a landfill to accept the waste.
Yeah.
And when I found one, the stipulations were that it couldn't contain any wood.
Okay, so
you'd have to go through it by hand and remove all the wood in order to be able to landfill the rest.
Which I'm looking around and I'm seeing a lot of wood. Yeah,
yes.
that's not going to really be feasible. Again, just some of them tiny little bits.
Yeah. Even though they were banned in 2019, these cotton bud sticks, we still find thousands and thousands of these. But basically the weight of material, so people flush so much stuff that doesn't break down, that is plastic. So wet wipes containing plastic, tampon applicators, this. So it all goes down, and basically they block the system. So they block the drums.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that the drum filter will take before it bursts and lets everything through, because it can't physically hold the water back forever. So at some point it breaks. And then everything comes through, which is when we see it all over the beach.
Yeah. And how did you personally get involved in this? Is it something that you kind of always had an interest in, or?
My background, I have a background in marine biology, and I was overseas for a long time. And when I moved back to Scotland, I actually lived in Campbelltown. Okay. And so I would drive past the loch here, at the head of the loch here. And so it's always been on my radar that there is a real issue here, and it does seem to be worsening. But it's not just here, it's everywhere, and it's particularly bad in Argyll and Bute on our roadsides as well. Roadside litter has increased even in the last, I'd say, very noticeably in the last 10 years.
And is that the roadside litter? Is that from people just in cars throwing stuff out their window?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so frustrating that people would do that.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me so mad.
Yeah.
And then of course that's what's bad for the environment wherever it is, but I'm sure a lot of that then will end up in streams and things and getting washed back into the oceans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spending time in Arrochar has been a sobering reminder of just how relentless marine pollution can be. The extent of the problem at Loch Long is disheartening. And while a larger scale solution remains elusive, Jackie and her team are proving that even the most persistent pollution sites can be tackled with determination and advocacy. But this litter sink is just one example of a much wider challenge along Scotland's coastline. Next, I'll be meeting Jackie's colleague, Kerry McKay, in Oban to learn more about the Grab Trust work across Argyll and Bute. Through their beaches and marine litter project, they're running cleanups, community outreach, and education initiatives to tackle the problem from multiple angles.
So what does Grab Trust stand for?
Excellent question. So the Grab Trust stands for the Group for Recycling in Argyll and Bute.
Cool.
And I am specifically in the Beaches and Marine Litter project. We've got two main aspects to the project. The first is making equipment, so the grabbers from the Grab Trust, making them readily accessible to anyone that wants to do a beach clean. So we've got packs all across Argyll and Bute that range from just 2 little pickers, some of which are hosted up at the beach cafe here where we're talking. There's 26 litter pick equipment loan locations that we've got across Argyll and Bute. As I say, some of them are just 2 litter pickers. We've been working on a project more recently to expand that to include the islands. So we've got packs of 10 litter pickers in some places and 6 litter pickers in others for the island locations. We're still rolling that out for a lot of them. And then we've got bigger packs for bigger groups of like up to about 100 folks can join in. This one really works for the Scouts, are quite good at doing beach cleans as part of their camp, so they make use of this quite a lot to borrow all the litter pickers and do a great big beach clean for a particular location.
Nice.
We work with things like the Marine Conservation Society Beach Watch project, Keep Scotland Beautiful, anyone that's doing like the Spring Clean Scotland, Great British Beach Clean into the autumn, anything like that, we'll be shouting about it, saying come do a beach clean. We offer advice to help people go. We've got risk assessment templates to make it nice and easy for them. We're happy to turn up if someone's not too confident to organise it themselves but really want to do it and have a group. We'll turn up and just run it for them. We've got first aid and all that kind of thing to tick all the boxes. So the other main side of the Beaches Marine Litter project is doing educational workshops with any groups that will listen to us. It's mostly primary school groups, but we bring them down to the beach as much as possible. We'll do a beach clean, including a litter survey if we can, to submit the data to the Marine Conservation Society Beach Watch. They learn about why litter is an issue, can see some of the issues firsthand, feel they're doing a good thing cleaning up the beach, and also just an excuse to get outside. It's really good for you, as the science is telling us.
Yes,
it's
definitely.
scientifically proven, not just we think it's good.
And all sorts of different ways. Like I heard recently, it's like really good for your eyesight just to be outside in open spaces more and stuff.
From the screen.
Yes, maybe I wouldn't have these glasses if I hadn't.
I can hope.
Yeah.
And then the final thing, so the bits and pieces that we fill in the gaps. This started mostly during COVID when we couldn't go into schools. We started doing a whole bunch of other different projects focusing on particular single-use items or issues that we're finding here in our Bute. So we do a whole bunch of things.
Amazing. Yeah, lots of incredible work. Now, I believe you have some items you'd like to show me.
I do.
Yeah, I'd love to have a look at them, shall we? Yeah, cool.
So I brought some examples with me from different projects that we've done. We do a whole range of different projects to do with reducing waste. So here we have, I'll start with our Be Part of the Cycle project. So we decided to work with the schools to create this pack that we provided to every school in Argyll and Bute with examples of reusable period products. So people could get hands on and see that they're not scary, they're not weird. There was also the change in legislation to do with single-use plastics for food and drink to go. And towards that, we created this Be Waste-Free Takeaway leaflet to encourage businesses and give them advice as to why it's a good idea. And that even if they're not interested in the environment whatsoever, that money talks. And a whole bunch of information to help guide them, because we know the businesses are super busy, especially in tourist season here in Oban, to give them top 3 pointers and a whole list of things that they can get as reusable alternatives to try and nudge them down the reusable route rather than just single use. We've produced leaflets that have guides for specific locations of where people could recycle things. There's a lot of confusion about what you can recycle where and how and why. Every council across the UK does it differently. So it's no wonder visitors, when they come here, especially if they're foreign, where it's completely different in other countries, they've no idea how to do things, what can go in what bin. So we produced these leaflets to help guide people a bit. We did Oban to start with, then we did one for Mid-Argyll, and then we moved on and have done one for Helensburgh and Dunoon recently, and we as a small charity, we were really lucky to get funding to distribute these to 16,000 homes just in the Halford area, on top of those we'd previously done for Oban and Mid Argyll. So we're hoping that this gets to as many people as possible to help them be confident that yes, you can recycle this, or no, that bit can't. It was worked on and off for about 2 years. It was a sort of side project that we wanted to do between all our usual work, working with the schools and doing beach cleans. So all our beach cleans, we try to collect information and submit it to the Marine Conservation Society Beach Watch project. And this has been going on since 1994 in Argyll and Bute, so we wanted to make use of that data to see what was really happening in Argyll and Bute and get some figures to help us direct our projects to particular problems, hence the period project.
Yeah.
So this is where that
Absolutely, yeah.
The H per 100 metres. So got Marine Conservation Society Beach Watch data is open access, anyone can request it and have a look through it if they want. A lot of numbers. Luckily, I quite enjoy a good spreadsheet sometimes. Okay. So put it all together into the Argyll and Bute Beach Litter report to really give the figures. We sent a paper copy of this report to, I think it was 12 key influential figures we thought might be able to sort of work on key particular issues in the report. And it's also just freely accessible online digitally on the GRAB website that anyone can have a look at it. It's all sorts of things we focused in on. So there's cigarette litter, dog poo bags, lots of lovely things we find. And balloons, always an interesting one considering they are technically banned from releases here in Argyll and Bute, so we still get them.
Hearing about the GRAB Trust's work has reinforced how essential community engagement and long-term initiatives are in tackling marine pollution. Whether it's equipping volunteers with the tools to take action or fostering awareness through education, their approach is making a tangible difference across Argyll and Bute. Next, I'll be speaking with Vicky Lass from the Scottish Islands Federation to learn how islanders are working together to combat plastic pollution in some of the country's most exposed and fragile environments. Hi, Vicky.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, lovely to meet you. I'm Shian. Hiya.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
It's great to have the opportunity to speak to you.
So tell me a little bit about the Scottish Islands Federation.
Well, the Scottish Islands Federation is really an umbrella organisation that raises the voices of all the islanders. So there's many common problems amongst the islands, and it's a way of sort of raising the profile of those issues and making the voices of the islands heard. Obviously, and unfortunately, marine litter is one of the problems. So within the Scottish Islands Federation, we have a marine litter working group, and it's that group that I work for as one of the marine development officers.
Okay, amazing. How long have you been involved in that for?
So I've been in post since August last year. So there have been marine litter development officers prior to that, but it's been very funding dependent on trying to get the continuity of staff. Our primary focus at the moment is to try and evidence the amount of litter that we're finding on the islands, and also, in addition to the abundance, also the type of sources where it's come from. So in the past year especially, we've really focused on trying to do surveys of the marine litter because we're finding that what we see on the islands isn't reflective of the general litter that is found on the mainland. But because there's been relatively little data before we started really focusing on it, policies have been made on the generalisations of data that have been collected on the mainland, and that doesn't reflect the situation on the islands. So we're trying to plug the evidence gap. In the last year, or at least 2023, we managed to do over 150 surveys, litter surveys on the islands, which has hugely increased the amount of data that we have. And that has shown, sadly for us, that the amount of litter on the islands is higher generally than is found on the mainland, but also that its composition is different. So we're finding a lot more litter that's come from marine industry sources, not surprisingly to some extent, whereas on the mainland the litter tends to be dominated by public sources. We've come to an arrangement with the Eco Committee at Oban High School, and the litter from Tyree is bagged up. Derek Wilson couriers are very kindly bring it over for us, and then I've been taking it into the Eco Committee at the high school, and we have a dedicated team there who have been helping me with the analysis.
Amazing. And so the Eco Committee at the high school, that's the students, is that right? So it's the young people. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So they have the high school has quite an active eco committee, and I was aware that they were doing a lot within the recycling within the school. So I thought I'd approach them and talk about the problems with marine litter. And initially the plan was just to tell them about the marine litter and take in an example to show them the sort of things that we're finding on the beaches. But as I mentioned, there's a dedicated group who've been very kindly, weekly, helping me do the analysis.
Wow, it's great. Really nice to see young people being so involved and enthusiastic about these issues as well.
Absolutely. I have to say I'm especially proud of the amount of data that has been collected in the last year. So 2023, there was over 150 surveys, marine litter surveys submitted from the islands, most of which were collected under the auspices of the Scottish Islands Federation. So we have survey teams all over the islands who have been putting in a huge amount of voluntary effort to collect up litter, survey it, submit the data to Marine Conservation Society, and that's been an increase of over 115% increase, I believe, from 2022. So massive difference in the amount of data that we've been having from the islands that's really showing what we've been saying all along, that there's more litter on the islands.
Okay. And you said it's a lot of volunteers doing it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
all volunteers. So we work with lots of different local environmental groups all over the islands, from groups and individuals who go out and do the surveys for us. At the moment, we've been trying to do 4 surveys a year on candidate beaches, so that we get a bit of a time series and really find out a baseline level of the amount of litter that we're finding.
Amazing.
And yeah, they've been doing hours and hours and have collected thousands of bits of litter last year. I think from memory it's 40,000 bits of litter. Yeah, I don't know offhand what the stretch of the distance that's covered, but tons and tons of litter.
Speaking with Vicky has highlighted the incredible work being done to give island communities a voice in fighting against marine pollution. Through their Marine Litter Working Group, they're gathering vital data to build a clearer picture of the problem, one that truly reflects the unique challenges faced by Scotland's islands. As part of this effort, Vicky has arranged for me to meet the Eco Committee at Oban High School to hear how young people are getting involved in this important work. Hi, hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm Fiona Wilson.
Hello Fiona, hi, I'm Shian.
Nice to meet you. So this is our Eco Committee. Some of our members have come along today to sort out some marine litter.
So how did the Eco Committee get started?
So we've had the Eco Committee since we moved into this school 6 years ago. We got together as a group and it's pupil led. It's myself and another teacher that runs it. And the pupils come and we meet and we decide a year in advance what projects we're going to work on and what we're going to do. So for this year, we are focusing on marine litter and we're working with Vicky to categorise and record the different types of litter and then upload it to the website so the Scottish Government can get the information.
Incredible, amazing work. And how did you get involved in it? Is this something that you volunteered in? Is it something you had an interest in already? Or?
So it's part of my remit. I do like whole school sort of sustainability environment. So as part of that, myself and a colleague set up the Eco Group. We just got our green flag last year, which is quite unusual for a secondary school. And I've just got a really good group of committed pupils who come along every week. Not only do we do this, but some of my group at the moment are outside emptying recycle bins in all the classrooms. And we do lots of different things.
Incredible, amazing, so many people are involved. How did you get interested in this type of work?
Mainly through Mum, but I liked spending time on the beach, so I wanted to make a difference to all the rubbish because it really burns the beaches.
So what are some of these items that you guys are sorting through?
We've got lots of net clippings. We do. Big sort of tufts of rope. Lots of fishing strapping bands.
Yeah.
And old buoys.
So that's like a bit from one of those round buoys you get that's just broken apart. Or
Yeah.
Seeing the Eco Committee in action has been truly inspiring. These students aren't just learning about environmental issues, they're actively contributing to real-world solutions, ensuring that the plastic washing up on their shores doesn't go unnoticed. Their hands-on approach to data collection and cleanups is a testament to the power of grassroots action. Our journey now takes us further north, as Katie from the Scottish Coastal Cleanup has invited us to join their next major beach clean on the Isle of Lewis. As I leave Ullapool, the ferry cuts through the wild Atlantic, bringing me closer to an island where resilience and tradition are deeply woven into the heart of the landscape. The largest island of the Outer Hebrides, Lewis, is renowned for its dramatic coastlines, ancient standing stones and rich Gaelic culture. But like many of Scotland's islands, is also on the front line of marine pollution. Sweeping Atlantic currents deliver a constant tide of debris, from lost fishing gear and plastic packaging to fragmented microplastics that infiltrate delicate ecosystems. Despite this, the island's residents remain steadfast in their commitment to protecting these lands. Today, I'm excited to meet Islander Violet, an avid environmentalist who's lending their passion to this latest beach clean.
Hey,
Hi.
Violet, right?
Yeah.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh, so I've heard you are very involved in the beach cleaning here in Lewis.
Yeah, that's right. I've been beach cleaning since I was a kid, so we are very familiar with this area and the type of litter that we find here. So I'm quite involved in both litter picking and cleaning up the beaches, but also in the data collection. So finding out what sorts of litter we commonly find here and potentially what we can do to solve those problems.
Nice. How did you get involved in it?
So it's something we always did as a family. We used to call it beach combing because we would go out and try and find things that we could recycle or reuse. And that's something that we always did. So it was never something that I came into as an adult, but I got more and more involved. And especially after lockdown, being able to come back to Lewis after having a period on the mainland, just being really keen to contribute back to the environment here.
And what would you say for other people that want to get involved? Kind of what can people do?
I think you can start at a very basic level. Just take a shopping bag when you go to the beach and a pair of gloves and pick up a few bits and pieces. And that's still a great contribution. It doesn't have to be at the level of looking at something like this and taking part in big cleans. If you don't feel sociable, it's perfectly acceptable to do things in small groups or just with family. It doesn't have to be citizen science, but if you're interested in the citizen science, focus on that. Like, pick the thing that you feel most passionate about and follow that route. That's how I got here. So I'm very involved in lots of different conservation things, but it just naturally channeled into being more towards marine plastics, and that's where I found my passion. So start small and just work up and make contacts as well. So talk to people about it. I think for a long time I was really embarrassed about this was something that I did in my free time and enjoy because it's a bit of an unusual hobby. Whereas I think with social media and things, I've found an incredible group of people all over the world who are all doing the same thing, and it feels like you've found your people, that you've got folk around you that you know feel similarly to you, and I've made some amazing friends through it.
Amazing. So would you say it's a pretty strong community then?
Absolutely, And I think a lot of what we do, we recognise that it can have a negative impact on your mental health. So a lot of times when we're online, we're maybe posting things like guessing games of what do you think this is, where do you think it came from, or date this object and things like that, so that there is a sense of humour within the community as well. It's not all doom and gloom and looking at how bad things are. A lot of it is to do with what could we turn this into? Where do you think it came from? And also going like almost on like beach cleaning holidays. So meeting friends that are in completely different environments. All the way down in Cornwall, I went down and did some sailing and was able to see completely different landscapes and different geology, but also be able to contribute in a way that I already had the skills and experience for.
Amazing.
So yeah, I feel like I've really made a lot of friends as well. But I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. The wildlife is what is joining us. It's amazing. Like, yeah, there's so much bird noise here. Do you know what type of birds they are?
Those are oyster catchers there. There's two on the rock out there. There's geese out there as well.
Yeah. Do you ever see, I mean, I'm guessing, it sounds a silly question, but I'm guessing like the wildlife, like these oyster catchers and other beautiful wildlife you have around here gets impacted by the plastic pollution here. Do you see that effect at all?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
taken some photographs at quite a distance of things like nests that have this green plastic rope in it. We've seen that unfortunately the bodies of whales, dolphins, seals, anything can get entrapped or can ingest plastic.
Yeah.
So a big part of like what I'm doing is trying to protect these guys.
Yeah.
Because even the smallest fibres can be ingested and that can cause problems, or be, looped around the neck of a bird. Especially some of the like bottle caps with that plastic ring. So a big part of what I try and communicate to people is it doesn't matter how small the piece is, the impact that could have on wildlife is quite severe. So by doing even a very small amount, you're still contributing greatly to the environment. Sometimes it can look very daunting when you look at something like this. And often we do have to leave beaches before they are completely pristine. And that can feel really difficult.
Yeah.
But then reminding yourself that everything that you've picked up it's no longer creating microplastics, it's no longer leaching into the water, it's no longer causing that kind of maritime kind of destruction that we don't even know the full impacts of for future. Putting myself out there and getting in touch with people online and going to community cleans with people that I didn't previously know who have now become fast friends, being able to travel and take sort of like mental health breaks away from myself, away from my usual environment, and go and see people but be able to contribute with them. I feel that we're really all on the same page about that. That feels really good. And I also think that like there's always a chance that you find something really exciting. So there's always that childlike part of you that still is going beach combing rather than beach cleaning. I found a brass lamp once when I was a child, and I just thought that was the most magical experience. There's always that feeling of being buoyed up by finding something unusual, and it could be something natural as well. So we found flapper skate eggs earlier, and that's something just really magical, that you're able to take part in your environment and find things that aren't plastic.
Twice in my life, I've found a message in a bottle on a beach before, so that's quite cool. Yeah,
I found a message in a bottle on a beach just over there. I've only found once in my entire life, and there's always the hope that I find another. And I think it's really exciting.
Definitely.
And last week I found a sort of like historic glass bottle, the kind that looks a little bit like a potion bottle, things like that make you think, I want to keep that. That's something that looks really cool. And I also like upcycle things, so I upcycle bits of these sort of green ropes and things into jewellery.
Yeah, I actually noticed your necklace is that's made from a piece of ocean rope, and the bracelet's like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love it. One of the most difficult challenges in tackling marine pollution is dealing with the smallest, most persistent fragments. Violet has been working on a solution for one of the trickiest culprits, polystyrene balls. These tiny beads break off from larger polystyrene structures and scatter across the land, becoming embedded in sand and vegetation. Using only found and repurposed materials, Violet has developed a simple but effective prototype to help separate polystyrene from natural debris. It's still a work in progress, but they're already considering ways to scale it up, making it easier for beach cleaners to remove these particles efficiently. For Violet, finding solutions is about more than just technology, it's about collaboration. They believe that by working together, beach cleaners across Scotland can refine and expand on these ideas, creating smarter, more efficient ways to tackle plastic pollution. Our time in Lewis has been a real insight into the dedication and creativity driving Scotland's coastal cleanup efforts. From large-scale beach cleans to innovative solutions like Violet's, it's clear that tackling marine plastics takes both teamwork and fresh thinking. As our journey continues, we're heading up Scotland's east coast to meet several community-led groups, each with their own unique approach to protecting their local environment. First, we'll be visiting East Haven, where Wendy Murray and the team at East Haven Together have transformed their small village into a model for community-driven coastal conservation.
Hi.
Hi, Wendy, right?
Yes.
Lovely to meet you, I'm
And
Shian.
yourself. Yes.
So thank you so much for talking to me. Could you tell me just a little bit about yourself and the organisation?
Yeah. Well, I've lived in East Haven for 34 years and I have been beach cleaning for 32 of them. We actually started in 1992, the whole village, and our charity is called East Haven Together. And we did think naively in 1992 that if we did a beach clean once a year, that we would be able to keep the beach clean. That was sadly not the case. It's increased year on year, the amount of work we've had to do. And in 2019, we actually
had to buy an all-terrain vehicle to help us lift this really heavy gear because we just cannot drag it along the beach anymore. 10.5 tons washed up in Storm Babette, largely fishing gear, but we also had at least 145 bags of small plastics collected. But this is by far the most difficult to collect, to dispose of, and just to manage.
And you said you've seen the amount increase since the organisation was started in the 90s.
Yes, perhaps the fishing gear really started to appear maybe about the year 2000, and since then it has just increased massively. We always try and trace our litter back to source. So we have had some great successes. So we managed to get support from Scottish Water to trace back things like, we had thousands of incontinence pads washed up on one occasion. So these were traced back and that was prevented. We also managed to trace back the dumping of waste at sea by NATO warships. So we managed to get an apology for that and some assurance that that wouldn't happen again in territorial waters. So we really do try and look at prevention.
Because I've seen a lot of that, like that plastic covering.
That's right.
Yeah, there's like, I can see one coming off there. Because I've seen like a lot of this stuff when I've been doing beach cleans, which I got told came from krill cages, but I've never seen it.
Of these.
Yes.
We gather so much now that we've actually had to get a temporary waste management storage license from SEPA, which I never thought that we would have to do that. And it's a lot of work for people in the village as well. We go out as often as we can in the all-terrain vehicle, but we've really got to have the strength to lift it onto the vehicle, lift it off to the vehicle.
So it's a lot of work for everybody involved. Yeah, is it mostly volunteers that are doing this?
Yes.
All volunteers? Yeah.
We have people in the village that are out beach cleaning, actually on the beach, small plastics every day. And we've got probably around 12 drivers of our all-terrain vehicle who are willing to go out with other volunteers to pick up waste.
What began as a small village effort to keep East Haven Beach clean has grown into a full-scale operation, tackling everything from discarded fishing gear to tracing waste back to its source. Their work proves that local action, persistence, and a willingness to challenge polluters can lead to real, measurable change. Next, I'm heading to Stonehaven to meet Mario Montgomery, the founder of Paws on Plastic, a movement that turns daily dog walks into an opportunity to help tackle litter.
So Paws on Plastic. I can see you got some paws here. Yeah, this is Paddy. Hello, Paddy. Hi. So what is it that you guys do? We are a charity based in Stonehaven. We started in Stonehaven, but we've got members all over the UK and the world, over 70 countries. And we just encourage dog owners to pick a few bits of litter up just while they're walking their dogs, protect animals, communities and the environment. We've got 26,000 members and followers. Just picking a few bits up just while we're out. And it's just the idea of trying to make it a normal part of an everyday dog walk because so many animals are hurt by litter. So we just want to, we love animals, so we just want to get out there and do a little bit. We also educate about the consequences of litter because I think most people, they don't set out to harm animals dropping litter, but it's just putting that thought in their head, what's going to happen to it? It's going to hurt an animal, ultimately it's going to end up in the sea. So just encourage them to think about that and make better choices. Becoming a charity was a huge thing for us because just able to get funding for different projects, to get out there and go to events and promote ourselves, get a website and promote ourselves as a charity that people can get involved with wherever they are, because it's such a simple ask. We've collaborated with all environmental groups like Keep Scotland Beautiful, Keep Bryn Tidy, Surf Against Sewage, all campaign. And I think the environmental community is so supportive. It's just fantastic the way that we do encourage and support everybody getting out there and just taking some positive action, because we think sometimes we can feel powerless as individuals, think what difference does it make what I do? But when you take a simple action and you're part of a big community who are all taking simple actions, it adds up. So we say even if our 26,000 members only pick up 2 bits of litter on 2 daily walks. That's over 38 million pieces every year.
Wow.
And studies show fewer people actually drop litter when areas are clean. So picking it up, removing it actually has a double effect. So yeah, it's fantastic. We're really proud as well to be based in Stonehaven. We love Stonehaven. We've got lots of members here, and our streets and our beach is noticeably clean because it has that volunteering spirit. And we've collaborated with Plastic Free Stonehaven, which is a community group trying to gain plastic free status from Surfers Against Sewage, which they just achieved last month, which is fantastic for Stonehaven. And we run beach cleans on the first Saturday of every month, which we've fantastic community support for. We get about 40, 50 volunteers coming out, young families just out in the fresh air having a great time, people of all ages, visitors as well have joined us today. We've got some out today. It's great to see. It's a great community thing to be part of. We've got our eyes on the other 12 million dog owners in the UK. Get them all. Just getting everybody involved, making it a habit, making it a sustainable habit that people just do it automatically. And that's the whole idea of Paws on Plastic. It's making it easy for people to take a very simple action. It only, kids at school time me, it takes about 10 seconds to bend down and pick up a piece of litter. And we have these army of people walking our streets, our parks, our beaches every single day in this country. If they just take 1 minute to pick up a few bits of litter, then that would be amazing. So that's the ultimate aim for the charity, to make it a normal part of an everyday dog walk and to realise that litter is not normal.
Marion's work with Paws on Plastic is proof that small, everyday actions can build into something truly powerful. By encouraging dog owners to pick up just a few pieces of litter while out on walks, this movement has inspired thousands to take responsibility for their surroundings, creating cleaner parks, streets, and shorelines in the process. Next, I'm heading to Aberdeen Beach to join a community cleanup with Lauren Smith, one of the Beach and Marine Litter Project officers at Turning the Plastic Tide. This initiative isn't just about cleaning beaches, it's about building a lasting infrastructure of trained volunteers who can keep Scotland's coastline protected for years to come. By supporting coastal communities and creating long-term solutions, they're working to ensure that the coast between Fraserburgh and East Haven remains cleaner, healthier and more resilient against marine pollution.
Okay, right. What we'll do then, we'll get the equipment ready, we'll get that on, and then is it okay if we take a group photo as well? There we go, too famous, that's what it is. Everyone say beach clean!
So it seems like quite a good turnout today.
Yeah, it's good. The group's really engaged, so I've worked with them before, and it's positive group to work with.
Oh,
really good.
Nice, nice. How long have you guys been doing this?
The project started in late 2018. That was the Turning the Plastic Tide part of it. And since then we've been doing beach cleans with schools, communities, businesses. And you know, since then we've removed over 74 tonnes of rubbish from the coastline.
Wow.
So it's an incredible volume.
Yeah, absolutely. 74 tonnes is incredible. And so back in 2018, what was it that prompted you guys to start this project?
It was just in response to the sheer volume of litter that we were starting to see up and down the coastline, unfortunately. And there was just more and more building up. You know, on different areas seems to have different types of litter and different volumes of litter. Obviously areas that are more popular and more visited by tourists, then they did tend to be cleaner. But there was a lot of areas that are sort of perhaps in small fishing villages, you know, almost slightly forgotten locations, that it was just building up like unbelievably. And we just realised that, you know, as a coastal partnership, so we're the East Grampian Coastal Partnership, and as, you know, as a partnership we were quite in a good position to be able to set up a beach cleaning project, and that's how Turning the Plastic Tide came about, really.
Amazing, amazing. And what sort of people is it that get involved in this?
All sorts of people, all age groups, all walks of life. We're there, we want to be as inclusive as possible. So yeah, whether it's very small, like nursery school children that we'll take out, all the way through to different high school kids. And then, you know, we've got like community groups. So there is a lot of sort of environmental action style groups that will join us as is the like sort of businesses and corporate groups as well. So there is quite a lot of sort of corporate responsibility these days, I think. So they're quite keen to get involved in environmental days, or they even do, you know, sort of days where they're just working together, really like team building days, basically. Yeah, and they'll sign up for that. So sometimes we'll just email and get in touch with people online. It can be face to face if we do little local events and have stalls, and we'll engage. We've got quite a good database of schools and teachers contacts as well. So really, to be honest, it's just over time we've just built up the base of our contacts, and also we get a lot of return groups. So if they've done it before, fortunately they seem to have had quite a good experience, and they've decided to join us again. So and it just grows that way. You know, the more kind of that people find out about it, even on a clean like today, if someone will come down and ask what we're doing, then we can just say, oh yeah, we can, you know, we can do this with you too. So yeah, just word of mouth as well.
Amazing. Have you noticed any changes in the years you guys have been doing it, either within the community or directly in terms of the kind of pollution and the beach environments?
I would say types of litter have changed. So we did used to get certain types of litter that would perhaps wash up quite frequently. And the more we kind of highlighted some of these things, then it seemed to feed back into communities, into industries, and we see less types of that sort of litter coming up, which is a positive. Definitely, again, in response to policy. So plastic bag charges, way less plastic bags on the beach these days. You know, we do kind of find sort of shredded plastics. But overall, it's that sort of thing's reduced a lot. If we can carry on building connections, speaking to different people within the community. I mean, I think sometimes you kind of preach to the converted almost, you know. And yes, we get people that come along, but they would always sort of come along to these things. If we could tap into communities, different types of folk that wouldn't normally do this or think about this, then that's a huge positive. And we'll be able to just even make more of a difference the more people you communicate with. And ultimately, I guess it's education about, you know, the awareness of plastics and the marine environment generally, and just, you know, appreciating the coastline, because it's fantastic what we have here.
Joining this cleanup effort with the Turning the Plastic Tide team has shown me just how much impact a strong network of volunteers can have in keeping our coastlines clear. Since launching in 2018, they've removed over 74 tonnes of litter, proving that when communities unite around a shared goal, they can make a lasting difference. Now we're heading even further north to Shetland, where I'll be visiting the small island of Walsa, known as the Bonny Isle. Walsa is home to a close-knit fishing community and some of Europe's largest trawlers. Despite its remote location, the island is no stranger to marine pollution, with plastics washing ashore and threatening its pristine environment. I'll be meeting Shetland local Anne-Marie Anderson, a writer and dedicated beach cleaner, to hear her perspective on the changes she's witnessed over the years and the efforts being made to preserve these shores.
So I needle felt with Shetland wool, and it's off Jamieson's of Shetland at the west side. And I get army wool colours and feral remnants for there and create me woolly art, as I call it.
And you're involved in beach cleaning as well. How did you get involved in that?
I think it started way back in the 80s. When the Vor Ride-Up kind of started, then we would go with a family and they would organise groups around the Vor time at the west side. And it just kind of started for there. I think we could every year and just gathered and kept the place neat and tidy. I think it's just kind of instilled in me to this day, I think. We saw a lot of like really ancient rubbish that's washed in years.
And you can just tell from the packaging, I guess, that it's really old stuff.
So and that was exciting to find some of that stuff, but also really sad to see how long it was been in the sea and on the shore for. But yeah, it was interesting.
That must be, it's interesting you're going to these remote spots that probably have never been beach cleaned before.
Really, so it made me want to think, and I thought, I wonder if I could do this more on the Shetland mainland. I've done here, so when you put going out there, so I go in my family at Vorride up time. We go to different beaches out there, so that's never been touched by anybody before. One of the places had an ice booster, and that's where I found the mist brook around this area here. I think I found about 700 plastic bottles just all washed in this area.
Wow, 700.
Yeah. You could feel them like under the ground. You could feel your feet crumping. And then when you'd hawk and go and discover, then there'd be like just this mound of plastic. Gosh. So yeah, it's just been years and years worth of plastic just coming in with storms, because it's quite, I mean, we've got a lot of wind here. So a lot of the rubbish is just getting blown up or the shores.
Yeah.
So,
gosh, it shows you how much it can build up if people aren't keeping on top of it and doing the cleaning. You know? Yeah.
So I'm realising that when I'm going, so I cleaned the whole aisle, and now I clean where the areas are that there is a build up. So that's the areas I'm keeping on going back to check and to have a pretty clean. And there is now the quantity that I found when you first
did it. Yes, so you've kind of got the backlog, and now it's just keeping on top of it.
Yeah, totally.
Is there ever accessibility issues? You know, if you are going to these remote beaches to like get to them, and then obviously to get the rubbish off them, does that ever cause problems?
I think you'd need to just do what I've done here. Just go with a couple of bags and then schwack. So it might take you a pretty while.
Yeah,
but worth it in the long run.
Anne-Marie's connection to these shores runs deep. From decades of beach cleaning to uncovering hidden pockets of marine debris that have accumulated over generations, her dedication reflects both a love for her home and a determination to protect it. Next, I'm travelling to Cellardike in Fife, where artist Kat Coulter is transforming marine debris into striking and thought-provoking pieces. Like Anne-Marie, she's finding creative ways to highlight the environmental impact of plastic while reimagining the materials that wash ashore.
Hello, Kat, is it?
Yes.
Hey, lovely to meet you. I'm Shian. Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
How long have you been making art using found items?
I've been here since about 2001, and I've been collecting stuff from probably longer than that, but this is the perfect excuse to drag more and more stuff off the beach and make it into things. I have the ability to see shapes and things that, you know, other people, that my husband looks at this, which, what are you picking this up for? And I think, well, it's this. And he looks at me strangely, and I thought, no, look, I'll take it away and I'll make it into whatever. And I said, yeah, I get it now. But I just see shapes and things, and it's like a sort of giant Lego set or something. You think, I know what I'm going to make with this. Or usually you'll find that's a bit of something, that's a bit of something else. And eventually I'll find the bits that go together to make the finished article. Usually it takes a while to find all the bits, but sometimes you'll go out and you'll find a whole piece. There's some of my favourite ones where you just go out on one walk and you find, well, there's that bit, and that bit goes with, and it will make itself. It just does. I mean, I can't take all the credit for this. The sea just brings it and said, here.
It's like a collaboration between you and the ocean.
The sea does it.
Yeah. Do you have any pieces you're particularly proud of?
Quite like my big fish here. Although he won't turn around to face the camera. He's gone a bit shy. I've just finished making a little piece that's sitting in front of the telly. That was the most recent thing that I've made. Previously I had a piece which had lots of plastic bottles, which was not dissimilar to the plastic bottle pieces I've got up there. These are just plastic bottles full of water. There's no fish.
And how do you create these?
The process is called cyanotype. It's a kind of an ancient, old form of photography that was invented just before kind of real photography happened. And it's a nice process. It doesn't use lots of toxic chemicals. It uses sort of iron compounds in solution. You mix them, coat paper with it, and it becomes photosensitive, and then it works like camera film. So the way I use it, I normally work in direct sunlight, and I put objects onto the paper, and sometimes I move them, sometimes I leave them where they are, and the sun does very clever things. there's some nice sort of fish shapes in those bottles. There was nothing in the bottles, which is bottles with water, and it's the light refracting between. See, I don't do signs. I don't do signs. It's the light bouncing off the bottles and the shadows that creates the fish shape.
Wow, that's incredible.
Which was great fun.
And do you have any ways you kind of get the message across with your work as well when you are doing exhibitions or having your pieces displayed? Is there a way that you kind of get the message across that, you know, this is coming from waste and this is an environmental issue?
Oh yeah, usually it's things are, you know, in the labeling on the pieces. I had a whole window display for a couple of months, it turned out, and the display was called Water Waste, and I had a piece about what it's all about on display at the same time. So, and it was in a recycled shop. It was a former Thomas Cook, so it was there, you know, whenever the shopping centre was open, you could come and see, you can see this, read the blurb about it. And some of the exhibitions I've been part of, we've had talks and recorded pieces where there's you come and look at the art and you can press a button and listen to people talk about it. So I've done things like that where I'm explaining what this is made of, what it's about. Mostly what I make has got a point. The stuff keeps coming. I keep seeing things in it. I make it probably until my husband gets fed up with all the rubbish.
Kat's work is more than just artistic expression. It's a visual narrative of marine pollution and the potential for transformation. Each piece she creates from discarded plastic and ocean debris challenges us to see these materials in a new way, not just as remnants of a problem, but as a call for change. For the final stop on our journey, we're heading to the Isle of Skye, where we're reuniting with the Scottish Coastal Cleanup, Violet, and a team of volunteers, tackling one of their toughest challenges yet. Here, marine plastics haven't just washed up on the shore, they've become woven into the landscape, tangled in vegetation and buried deep in the sand. Clearing them is slow, painstaking work. But as we've seen throughout this journey, persistence and teamwork can make a significant impact. This will be one of the most challenging cleanups we've seen yet, and I'm eager to witness firsthand the effort it takes to remove plastic that has been embedded in the landscape for years. Hello, Violet.
Hello, nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. I think it was Lewis I saw you last, right?
Yes, that's right.
Cool, and here we are in Skye now. Do you move around quite a lot for different beach cleans then?
Yeah, so I tend to try and do a few extreme beach cleans and give myself plenty of time to recover in between.
Okay.
So I've been travelling around with Scottish Coastal Cleanup and working with other charities as well.
Okay, amazing. Ooh. Well, yeah, this one does seem quite extreme with all this stuff under this earth. Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately what happens is that the roots and things grow over the top of it, so we have a bit of a job to get it back out again.
Yeah. Ooh. Gosh, I might need a hand with this one.
Absolutely. It's a two-person job.
I think so. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
It's quite a big tangle.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, even if we get this stuff, I bet there's so much more just under the earth that's been grown over now.
Absolutely. There's there's like microplastics under here. We've got some polystyrene. But unfortunately what happens is once it's like this will break down, it'll get into the roots, and then we find the sort of microplastics as well. So all of these fibres are something that are underneath the soil. The roots are growing through them, potentially being absorbed into the plants, and then once they're in the plants, they're being eaten by animals, and then it gets into the food chain. Because most people looking at an environment like this are not going to imagine that underneath we have layers and layers of plastics that have built up over maybe 10, 20 or 30 years. And we're minimising the harm. We're never going to find all of it, but if we can find most of it, we're doing the absolute best that we can.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things people could do is not necessarily join an extreme cleanup, but to just do a little bit day to day. If you're out walking the dog or out with your family, just take a small bag and even 2 or 3 pieces every day. If everyone who walked on a beach or near the coastline or near a river were to do that, we would make such a huge impact.
Absolutely. And what would you say for people that
don't live near a river or the coast or the beach.
So I think one of the most important things we can do is prevent any kind of plastics getting into the environment. Obviously, a lot of this comes from out at sea, but what we see a lot is things like bottles and cans and crisp packets. And even those in an urban environment can be quite dangerous. So they can impact the local wildlife. I clean up the woods round about my house sometimes, and there are crisp packets. You can find like drowned mice in them because they've been caught in that and the rain's gotten in it. So even that small impact, that could have been food then for an owl. Or if you've got insects that are being trapped by litter, those could be food for bats, and then you're impacting the whole ecosystem. So even if you can make sure that, say, your bin doesn't tip over when it's windy, or if there's a little bit of litter around, you educate your children, you educate your family, make sure that we're not getting that litter into the ecosystem in the first place. And then it's not getting into water courses. So all water courses are connected. Even if it's getting into our drains, then the microplastics are within the water system. Those are going to end up in rivers and again out to sea. So at any point during the stage, whether it's refusing to buy plastic at the source, so shop for things that are loose and try to make your own homemade snacks so you're not using those plastics. And then making sure that they're not getting out of your bin, they're not getting into the environment. If it's windy, make sure to tie your bin down. And then if you do see plastics out, just pick them up. And it's so simple to even take 1 or 2 pieces. And then if you feel really like you're energetic and you want to get involved, then come along and join us on an extreme beach clean.
Before we bring our journey to a close, I have one last conversation here on Skye with Ali Mitchell, founder of Ocean Plastic Pots. His innovative approach is turning discarded marine plastics into something practical and sustainable. I'm eager to hear more about his journey and how Ocean Plastic Pots is helping to create a circular solution to this pressing issue.
So we recycle rope and fishing net collected in Scotland. We manufacture that initially into plant pots, and now we're here today. We're collecting some marine litter that's going to go into handles of our garden products.
Okay, incredible. So you actually, do you need to like melt it down to make these things, or how does it work?
So what we do is we collect by polymer type, polypropylene HDPE, and then we sort it, and then it gets washed, and then it goes through a recycling process where it's washed and shredded, and then we turn it into a pellet, and then we mould that pellet into our products.
Okay, wow.
But we only manufacture in Scotland, so all our products are manufactured.
Amazing. Where are you based?
We're based in Glasgow and Hillington.
Ah, okay.
Just across from Glasgow Airport.
Okay, I'm in Glasgow myself, so a bit of a trek up to Skye for this.
Do you know, I used to be a commercial diver.
Okay.
So I was a commercial diver for 13 years, and I actually salvaged a ship off the coast of Skye. It was carrying 2,000 tonnes of a material called PRF, which is pelletised refuse-derived fuel. It's a fuel source that they burn to make concrete, and they were taking that waste from Ireland going to Germany, and it hit a reef at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I ended up joining the salvage operation as a key worker for HM Coast Guard. And that was the reason I started Ocean Plastic Pots.
Gosh, so that was like your inspiration.
Yeah, so we were based in Uig for 6 weeks. And before that, I'd spent quite a lot of time on Skye working as a diver. We've done 24 tonnes of rope and fishing net to date.
Wow.
So last year, Scottish Coastal Cleanup did a massive recycling project with the Highlands and Islands Council and the Scottish Beach Cleaning Federation. They removed rope and fishing net and beach plastic from egg, muck, rum, Canacol and Skye. And we recycled 1.7 tonnes of that and turned it into a pot that we then sold. The year before that, we did, with Scottish Coastal Cleanup, we did 1 tonne of fishing net off the Isle of Ulva, which we recycled and made into a product that actually went to Blooming Wild.
Okay.
And the year before that, which was the first year, we did all the rope and fishing net from Edinburgh to the Scottish borders for World Ocean Cleanup Day. So our big focus today is fish boxes. So we've tried and failed for many years to recycle the fish boxes. It's a different type of plastic. So rope and fishing net polypropylene, which is the same as a yogurt carton. Fish boxes are the same as a milk bottle, but that brings its own challenges. They're a tricky material. They shrink a lot more. And the aim is to put that into new products going forward, which is garden trowels, garden tools. And we've actually started trialling putting them into pots as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a challenge, but the knowledge of working with the marine plastic grows every year. So the more we do this, the more we learn, basically.
Our time on Skye has been a fitting way to round off this journey, witnessing the challenges of removing deeply embedded plastics and learning how people are repurposing these materials in new and impactful ways. But there's one final place I want to visit. I'm heading to Seacliff Beach in North Berwick. As the home of our producer, Tommy Dale, it's a place that holds personal significance. It's clear the challenges facing Scotland's shores are vast, but they are not insurmountable. From beaches up and down Scotland where volunteers are tirelessly removing plastic pollution, to the pioneering groups working to better understand the impact of macro and microplastics on the environment, it's evident that hope is not lost. We've seen the profound connection between people and the sea, a connection that runs deep in the veins of Scotland's history and culture. This bond drives countless individuals to dedicate their lives to protecting our shores, whether through scientific research, grassroots activism, or community-driven cleanup efforts. Through them, we've learned that change begins with each of us. It starts in the small daily choices we make, choosing reusable over disposable, supporting sustainable products, and educating others on the impact of plastic pollution. And it flourishes in the collective efforts we support in our communities, where the power of many can make a real and lasting difference. This journey has been a reminder for me that every piece of plastic we prevent from entering the ocean, every beach we clean, every awareness campaign that we champion, all contribute to the greater goal of preserving our natural heritage for future generations. So whether you are a lifelong lover of the sea or someone just beginning to understand the gravity of the situation, I hope this documentary inspires you to act. Scotland's coastline is not just a place of breathtaking beauty. It is a vital, living ecosystem that needs our protection. When I started this journey, I felt overwhelmed by the scale of the problem. But the people I've met along the way have shown me that the power to make improvements lies in our hands. Whether that's something as simple as making sure you pick up one piece of litter every time you're out and about, or you have the capacity to become more deeply involved. If all of us refuse to turn a blind eye to these issues, then change is inevitable. The task ahead is daunting, but it's one that we cannot afford to ignore. We each have a role to play, whether through direct action or simply raising awareness and helping spread the word. Let's all commit to doing our part, no matter how small it may seem, to ensure our coastlines continue to thrive and future generations can inherit a Scotland where the sea is still a source of inspiration, wonder, and life.
Vitamins and history books, psychology and a different way to look at it all. 'Cause my perspective is broken. If suffering's a way to earn your keep, I better start putting miles on my feet. But I'm so tired of wandering. Yeah, I'm lost, but I'm living. Yeah, I'm lost. Can I be forgiven?
I know that you're curious, I know that you're strong, but life can be furious and things can go wrong. You go, where better better off tomorrow. But who knows if we get joy or sorrow. Stay true to that fire in your heart and your soul. Don't drench your desire in what you can't control. We fly, try so hard to get there, and we might be lost but not forever. There's things in life you simply need to know, but sun and rain and trust in letting go. It takes a bit of suffering, sleepless nights and wandering, before you make it safely to the end, the end, the end. Don't say you're ridiculous, you're not even close. Don't wish for indifference, you're not one of those. We fall, but we always rise up through it all. We get a little wiser. There's things in life you simply need to know, but sun and rain and trust in letting go. It takes a bit of suffering, sleepless nights and wandering, before you make it safely to the end, the end, the end. And if you ever wonder, there is nothing wrong with a little thunder. There's things in life you simply need to know, about sun and rain and trust in letting go. It takes a bit of suffering, sleepless nights and wandering, before you make it safely to the end, the end. There's things in life you simply need to know, about sun and rain and trust in letting go. It takes a bit of suffering, sleepless nights and wandering, before you make it safely to the end. Before you make it safely to the end.